The day I decided to destroy my family's legacy started like any other Thursday morning at Graham Technologies. I stood in the doorway of my brother Emiliano's corner office, watching him dismiss my latest proposal without even looking up from his phone. Ruby, we've been over this. The company doesn't need a digital transformation right now. We're doing fine the old-fashioned way. I'm Ruby Graham, and I've spent 30 years being the family's afterthought, the daughter they never quite knew what to do with. Our competitors are eating into our market share, I pressed, gripping my tablet tighter. We're losing clients because our systems are outdated. I can show you the numbers. Little sister, Emiliano cut me off with that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. Stick to what you're good at. The IT department is cute, but leave the big decisions to those who understand business. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. 3 degrees in computer science and business, and he still treated me like I was 12. My phone buzzed. A message from Valerie. How'd it go? I walked out without another word to my brother. In the elevator, I texted back. Same old story. Meeting for coffee? 20 minutes later, I sat across from Valerie at our usual spot, stirring my latte perhaps a bit too aggressively. I swear, Val, sometimes I think they kept me in IT just to have someone to blame when their computers crash, I said, running a hand through my hair. Valerie leaned forward, her eyes intense. Then why are you still there? Ruby, I've seen your work. The algorithms you developed for their security system. That's genius-level stuff. It's the family business, I sighed. Dad always said, your dad handed everything to your brothers on a silver platter, Valerie interrupted. And now Emiliano's running it into the ground while Hayden plays yes man. My other brother Hayden at least had the decency to look uncomfortable during board meetings. But he never stood up to Emiliano either. You should see the books, I muttered, lowering my voice. We're hemorrhaging money, but nobody wants to admit it. Dad's retired, but still thinks everything's fine because Emiliano keeps feeding him BS reports. So what are you going to do about it? I looked up, surprised by the challenge in Valerie's voice. What can I do? I'm just the little sister who graduated top of her class at MIT, Valerie cut in, who developed 3 patented security protocols before turning 25, who could probably build a better company from scratch if she wasn't so busy playing the good daughter. I stared into my coffee, letting her words sink in. My phone buzzed again. A message from Sarah, our family advisor. Your brother rejected another major client. We need to talk. They'll never take me seriously, I said quietly. Not while I'm under their roof. Valerie reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Then maybe it's time to build your own roof. I looked at my best friend, really looked at her. Valerie had been trying to get me to partner with her on a startup for months. I'd always refused, citing family loyalty. What if... I started slowly, an idea taking shape. What if we did it in secret? Built something of our own while I stay at Graham Tech, gathering intel? Valerie's eyes lit up. Now you're thinking like a CEO. They'd never see it coming, I continued, feeling a spark of excitement for the first time in years. They don't even bother reading tech news. They wouldn't notice until you're too big to ignore, Valerie finished, grinning. My phone buzzed one more time. A group text from Dad. Family dinner tonight, attendance mandatory. Your mother's making pot roast. I showed Valerie the message and rolled my eyes. Another chance to hear about how amazing my brothers are. Perfect, Valerie said. Go, play the part. But starting tomorrow, we're building your empire. I sat back, a plan forming in my mind. You know what? You're right. I'm done being the family disappointment. It's time they learned what their little IT girl can really do. That's my girl, Valerie raised her coffee cup. To new beginnings? I clinked my cup against hers, feeling something shift inside me. To new beginnings. And maybe, just maybe, to making them regret ever underestimating me. As we left the coffee shop, I was already mentally drafting business plans. They thought keeping me in IT was keeping me in my place. They never considered that from my little corner of their kingdom, I could see everything. Every weakness, every vulnerability, every mistake. They'd learn soon enough. The black sheep of the family was about to become their worst nightmare. 6 months flew by like a caffeine-fueled fever dream. By day, I played the dutiful sister at Graham Technologies. By night, Valerie and I built our startup, Ruby Secure, from the ground up in her garage-turned office. "Another all-nighter?" Valerie asked, sliding a fresh coffee across our makeshift desk. "Really just an old door balanced on sawhorses." "Worth it," I said, spinning my laptop around. "Look at these test results. Our AI security protocol just caught every single breach attempt in the simulation." Valerie leaned in, her eyes widening. "Ruby, this is incredible. Traditional firewalls didn't even detect half of these threats." "And that's not even the best part," I grinned, pulling up another window. "It adapts. Every attack makes it stronger. It's exactly what I tried to implement at Graham Tech, but Emiliano said it was unnecessarily complex." My phone buzzed, speaking of the devil. A text from Hayden. "Em's calling an emergency board meeting. Something about Q3 projections." "Go," Valerie said before I could speak. "Keep up appearances. I'll finish the investor pitch deck." 2 hours later, I sat in Graham Tech's plush boardroom, watching Emiliano tap dance around the fact that we'd lost 3 major clients in 2 months. "It's just a temporary setback," he assured the board, shooting me a glare when I snorted quietly. "Our traditional approach has served us well for 30 years. Traditional won't cut it anymore," I spoke up, earning surprised looks from around the table. "Our competitors are offering AI-driven solutions while we're still pushing manual monitoring." "Here we go again," Emiliano rolled his eyes. "Ruby, not everything needs to be automated. Our clients appreciate the human touch." "Really?" I pulled up an email on my tablet. "Is that why MaxiCorp just jumped ship to next-gen security? Their CEO specifically cited our outdated infrastructure as the reason." Sarah, our advisor, nodded grimly. "She has a point, Emiliano. We can't ignore." "I'm not taking technical advice from my baby sister," Emiliano snapped. "This meeting is adjourned." Later that evening, my phone lit up with an unknown number. "Ruby Graham?" "Speaking. This is Marcus Thompson from Venture Capital Partners. Your friend Valerie sent over your pitch deck. I'd love to discuss it further. Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" I stepped into my apartment's hallway, heart pounding. "Absolutely, Mr. Thompson. Please call me Marcus. I have to say your AI security solution is unlike anything I've seen. The adaptive learning capabilities alone." The next day, Valerie and I sat across from Marcus in a high-end restaurant, watching him flip through our business plan. "Your prototype results are impressive," he said, setting down his fork. "But what makes you sure you can compete with established players?" I pulled out my tablet. "Because I know exactly what they're missing. Take Graham Technologies, for instance. Their market share has dropped 15% in the last quarter because they refuse to innovate. Their clients are desperate for exactly what we're offering." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You seem very familiar with their operations." "I should be," I smiled. "I'm their head of IT. Or at least, I am for now." "Isn't that a conflict of interest?" "Not at all. I developed this technology independently on my own time. Everything's properly documented and legally clear." Marcus sat back, studying me. "You know, most people would be afraid to go up against a family business. Most people haven't spent their entire careers being underestimated by their own family." He nodded slowly, then reached for his briefcase. "Well, Ms. Graham, I think we might have something here. How does 5 million in seed funding sound for starters?" Valerie gripped my arm under the table as I maintained my composure. "That sounds like a good beginning." Later that night, as we celebrated in our garage office, Valerie raised her champagne glass. "To Ruby Secure's first big break." "To showing them what unnecessarily complex can do," I clinked my glass against hers. My phone buzzed. Hayden again. "Ruby, things are worse than Em's letting on. Any chance we could talk? Privately?" I showed Valerie the message. She smirked. "Looks like someone's finally noticing the ship is sinking." "Should I meet with him?" "Absolutely. The more intel, the better." I texted back. "Tomorrow, coffee shop on 5th, 8 a.m. Valerie topped off our glasses. "You know, your brothers are going to lose their minds when they realize what you've built." I thought about Emiliano's dismissive smirk, about years of being relegated to the kids' table at family functions, about every time they'd talked over me in meetings. Good, I said, raising my glass again. It's about time they realised their baby sister grew up. The prototype hummed quietly in the corner, its screens displaying a steady stream of caught threats. Soon, very soon, they'd all see exactly what I was capable of. I arrived early at the coffee shop, choosing a corner table where I could watch Hayden's approach through the window. He showed up exactly on time, looking more dishevelled than I'd ever seen him. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, slumping into the chair. I didn't know who else to talk to. "What's going on, Hayden?" He glanced around before leaning forward. "We're in trouble, Ruby. Real trouble. Emiliano's been cooking the books." I kept my face neutral, though my heart raced. "How bad? Bad enough that if the board finds out, we're done?" He ran a hand through his hair. "We've been operating at a loss for months. Em's been moving money around to hide it, but you can't hide red ink forever," I finished. "There's more." Hayden's voice dropped even lower. "Remember that big government contract Em was bragging about at dinner last month?" I nodded, taking a sip of coffee. He faked the security certification requirements. If anyone audits us... My phone buzzed. A text from Savannah, Emiliano's wife. "Need to talk. It's urgent. Lunch today." "Does Savannah know?" I asked Hayden. He shook his head. "Em doesn't tell her anything anymore, but she's not stupid. She's been asking questions." I texted back. 12:30, Italian Place on Main. "What are you going to do?" I asked Hayden. He looked miserable. "What can I do? He's my brother. Our brother. He's also committing fraud. Ruby, please, just help me figure out how to fix the security systems. Maybe if we can actually deliver what we promised." "It doesn't work that way, Hayden. You can't retroactively fix fraud." My phone buzzed again. Sarah this time. "Board meeting tomorrow. Bring your department's numbers. Something's not adding up." Hayden stood up. "I should go. Em can't know we talked." "Hayden," I called after him, "be careful." At 12:30, I sat across from Savannah watching her push pasta around her plate. "I found something," she said finally, "in Emiliano's home office. Documents about offshore accounts, shell companies." "Why are you telling me this?" Savannah looked up, her eyes tired. "Because you're the only one who sees him for what he is. Hayden's too loyal, your father's too proud, but you've always known, haven't you?" "Known what?" "That he's a fraud, that he's been destroying everything your grandfather built." I studied her carefully. "What do you want from me, Savannah?" "Help me stop him, before he takes us all down with him." My phone lit up. Valerie. "Major tech blog wants to interview you about Ruby Secure. What should I tell them?" Savannah caught the name on my screen. Ruby Secure? The new security startup everyone's talking about? Her eyes widened. "That's you?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Does Emiliano know?" "Not yet." A slow smile spread across her face. "Good. Keep it that way. At least until what? Until you're strong enough to take him down." Back at the garage office that evening, I filled Valerie in. "This is perfect," she said, pacing excitedly. "We can use this. The timing couldn't be better." "It feels wrong," I admitted. "Using their weakness." "Wrong?" Valerie stopped pacing. "Like how they used your loyalty, your talent. Ruby, they're about to implode anyway. At least this way you can save the company's employees." My phone buzzed yet again. An anonymous email. "Thought you might find these interesting." Attached were documents showing Emiliano's detailed scheme to defraud investors. "Who sent this?" Valerie asked, reading over my shoulder. "I have a guess," I said, thinking of Savannah's determined face. "What are you going to do?" I stared at the documents, years of dismissal and disrespect flashing through my mind. "I'm going to that board meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to watch them squirm. And then? And then," I smiled, "I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse." My phone lit up one final time. "Dad. Dinner on Sunday. Your mother misses you." I showed Valerie the message. Should I go? Of course, she grinned. It might be your last chance to play the dutiful daughter before everything changes. I looked at our prototype, now housed in a proper server rack, then at the damning documents on my screen. You know what the funny thing is? They always told me I was too soft for business. Well, Valerie raised her coffee cup, here's to proving them wrong. Tomorrow would change everything. The board meeting would expose the first cracks in Emiliano's facade, and I would be there to watch it crumble. The question was, when the dust settled, would anything be left of our family? The board meeting was a powder keg waiting to explode. I sat quietly watching Sarah methodically dismantle Emiliano's facade with a stack of financial reports. These numbers don't match our filed statements, she said, her voice cutting through the tension. Would anyone care to explain the discrepancy? Emiliano's confident smile flickered. There must be some mistake in the accounting. No mistake, Sarah interrupted, sliding more papers across the table. We've lost 6 major clients in the past quarter alone. Our security certifications are being questioned, and there's a significant amount of money moving through accounts I can't trace. I caught Hayden's eye across the table. He looked like he might throw up. If I may, I spoke up, opening my laptop, I have the IT department's security audit results. This isn't the time, Ruby, Emiliano snapped. Actually, Sarah said, it's exactly the time. Please continue, Ruby. I connected my laptop to the projector. Our current security infrastructure is critically outdated. We're vulnerable to at least 17 different types of cyber attacks. The certification we claimed for the government contract. We don't meet even half the requirements. The room erupted in murmurs. Emiliano's face turned red. That's enough, he slammed his hand on the table. This meeting is not adjourned, Sarah cut in. The board has questions that need answering. My phone buzzed. Valerie. Tech Insider just published their piece about Ruby Secure. It's going viral. Right on cue, one of the board members held up his tablet. Emiliano, have you seen this? A new security startup is revolutionizing the industry. Their AI-driven approach is exactly what Ruby's been proposing for years. Emiliano grabbed the tablet, his face draining of color as he read. His eyes snapped to me. You... I smiled sweetly. Yes? Before he could respond, the boardroom door burst open. Savannah strode in, holding a USB drive. Sorry I'm late, she said, not sounding sorry at all. But I think the board needs to see this. Savannah, what are you doing? Emiliano stood up. Showing them the truth, she plugged the drive into the projector. About the offshore accounts, the shell companies, all of it. The next hour was chaos. Documents flashed across the screen, proof of Emiliano's fraud, faked certifications, everything. I watched my brother's empire crumble in real time. This is a witch hunt, he sputtered. You can't prove. Actually, Sarah said, we can. The SEC will be very interested in these records. My phone buzzed again. Dad, what's happening at the office? Emiliano's not answering his phone. I ignored it, watching Hayden finally find his voice. How long? He asked Emiliano. How long have you been lying to us? I was protecting us, Emiliano shouted out, protecting our legacy. By committing fraud? I stood up. By destroying everything grandfather built? You, he pointed at me, realization dawning. Ruby Secure, that's your company, isn't it? You've been planning this. Planning what? To succeed where you failed? To build something legitimate while you played shell games with our family's reputation? The board members were whispering among themselves. Sarah cleared her throat. In light of these revelations, I moved to suspend Emiliano from his position immediately, pending a full investigation. You can't do this, Emiliano looked around wildly. Dad won't allow... Dad's retired, I reminded him, and you're about to be under federal investigation. My phone lit up. Valerie again. 3 of Graham Tech's biggest clients just reached out. They want meetings with Ruby Secure. Hayden caught my eye, nodding slightly. I knew what he was thinking. There might still be a way to save the company, but not with Emiliano at the helm. I'll have security escort you out, Sarah told Emiliano. Don't remove anything from your office. As security led him away, he stopped beside me. You planned this. All of it. My own sister. No, Emiliano. You did this. I just built a better mousetrap while you were busy burning bridges. After he left, Sarah turned to me. I assume Ruby Secure might be interested in acquiring certain assets. We might be, I smiled, once the dust settles. Later that night, I sat with Valerie in our office, watching our stock price soar following the Tech Insider article. Think your dad's seen it yet? She asked. Probably. He's left 6 voicemails I haven't listened to. Are you going to call him back? I looked at my phone at the missed calls from family members who never bothered to call before today. Eventually, I said. But first we have a company to save. Just not the one they expected. Valerie raised her glass. To the power of being underestimated. I clinked my glass against hers, thinking of Emiliano's face when he realized who had really outmaneuvered him. To karma, I replied. And to finally playing my own game. The media storm hit faster than anyone expected. By morning, every tech blog was running stories about Graham Technologies' collapse and Ruby Secure's meteoric rise. I sat in our now legitimate office space, watching the chaos unfold on multiple screens. Another interview request, Valerie announced, waving her phone. Forbes this time. Tell them, my phone buzzed. Dad again. This time I answered. Hello? Ruby. His voice sounded older than I remembered. We need to talk. Family meeting. Tonight. I'm pretty busy. This isn't a request. The line went dead. Valerie raised an eyebrow. The summons finally came? Before I could respond, Sarah walked in looking exhausted. The SEC just arrived at Graham Tech. It's a full investigation now. How bad is it? I asked. Bad enough that Emiliano might be facing jail time. She sat down heavily. Your father's beside himself. My phone lit up with a text from Hayden. Em's gone missing. Savannah's worried he might do something stupid. Perfect timing, I muttered, showing Sarah and Valerie the message. You need to go to that family meeting, Sarah said firmly. Show them you're still part of this family even if I helped expose their golden boy as a fraud. Even then. That evening, I pulled up to my parents' house, where multiple cars already lined the driveway. Hayden met me at the door. Heads up, he whispered. Dad's been drinking. The tension in the living room was thick enough to cut. Mom sat rigid in her armchair, while Dad paced by the fireplace. Savannah huddled in a corner looking worried. Well, Dad said as I entered, here's our tech genius. Happy now, Ruby? You've destroyed your brother's life. Emiliano destroyed his own life, I replied calmly. I just built a better company. A better... Dad laughed bitterly. You went behind our backs, stabbed your own family. Like you went behind my back, I interrupted, giving my brothers control of a company I helped build, ignoring every suggestion I made. You were in IT. I was in IT because you put me there, because God forbid the daughter have any real power in the family business. Savannah stepped forward. Emiliano's been calling me. He's talking crazy, saying he's going to expose everyone. Expose what? Mom asked sharply. That's what I'd like to know, I said, looking at Dad. What else is he hiding? Dad's face paled slightly. Nothing, he's just upset. My phone buzzed. A message from an anonymous number with attachments. I opened them and felt my breath catch. Dad, I said slowly, want to explain why your signature is on these offshore transfers? Dating back 5 years? The room went silent. Hayden moved to look at my phone, his face hardening. You knew, he said to Dad. You knew what Em was doing. I was protecting this family, Dad shouted. The market was changing. You needed to commit fraud, I asked. To fake certifications. To put everyone at risk. Ruby, Mom spoke up. Surely there's something you can do. Your new company. Could buy what's left of Graham Tech, I finished. Clean up this mess legally. But there would be conditions. What conditions? Dad demanded. I run everything. No interference, no backseat driving, and you both retire. Completely. You can't, I can, and I will, because right now, I'm your only option. My phone buzzed again. Valerie. 3 more Graham Tech clients just signed with us. Stock's up 40%. Think carefully, I told my parents, because Emiliano's not the only one facing jail time if these documents go public. Dad slumped into a chair, suddenly looking every bit his age. You're blackmailing us. I'm offering you a way out, more than you ever offered me. Hayden cleared his throat. I'll back Ruby. She's right. It's the only way to save anything. Hayden! Dad looked betrayed. I'm done enabling this, Hayden said firmly. Ruby knows what she's doing. She always did. My phone lit up one more time. Sarah, SEC wants to interview your father tomorrow. Time's running out. I held up my phone. Tick-tock, Dad. What's it going to be? The silence stretched for what felt like hours. Finally, Mom stood up. Accept her offer, Robert, she said quietly, before we lose everything. Dad looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time in years. When did you get so hard? When you taught me that being soft meant being ignored. I headed for the door. You have until morning to decide. After that, I can't help you. As I left, I heard Mom start to cry. Part of me wanted to go back to comfort her, but that part was getting smaller every day. In my car, I texted Valerie, "Get the paperwork ready. Tomorrow we either save Graham Tech or watch it burn." Her response was immediate. Either way, you win. I wasn't so sure about that anymore, but it was too late to stop now. Morning brought a flurry of messages. The first was from Emiliano. You think you've won? Watch the news at 9. The second was from Dad. We'll take the deal. The third was from Sarah. Emergency meeting now. Emiliano's threatening to go public. I rushed to Graham Tech's offices where chaos reigned, reporters camped outside the entrance, and security struggled to maintain order. Sarah met me at a side door. He's lost his mind, she said, hurrying me through back corridors. He's scheduled a press conference in 30 minutes. The boardroom was packed. Dad sat at the head of the table looking defeated. Mum wasn't there. Hayden paced by the windows while Savannah typed frantically on her phone. He's not answering my calls, Savannah said, but he sent me this. She held up her phone, showing a draft of Emiliano's prepared statement, a document that would implicate everyone, including himself. He's going to destroy himself just to take us all down, Hayden muttered. My phone buzzed. Valerie, our legal team's ready. Say the word. Where is he? I asked. Plaza Hotel, Savannah replied. He's booked their conference room. I checked my watch. 20 minutes. Dad, I said, I need your signature. Now. He looked up, confused. What? I pulled out a folder. Transfer of ownership. Complete control of Graham Tech to Ruby Secure, effective immediately. Now, but sign it, or in 20 minutes, everything goes public. Your choice. His hand shook as he took the pen. As he signed, my phone lit up with another message from Emiliano. Last chance, little sister. Back off or everyone burns. I forwarded it to Valerie. Execute Plan B. What are you doing? Hayden asked. Saving what I can. I turned to Sarah. Get the SEC on the phone. Tell them we're self-reporting and cooperating fully. Ruby, Dad protested. It's done, I cut him off. I own the company now, and I'm doing this right. My phone rang. Emiliano. I put it on speaker. Hello, brother. Called to gloat? His voice was slurred. Called to tell you it's over. I just bought the company. The SEC is already involved. Your press conference will only hurt you now. You think I care? You think I think you're drunk and angry, I interrupted. And I think you should know that Savannah's pregnant. The silence was deafening. Savannah shot me a startled look, then slowly nodded. What? Emiliano's voice cracked. 8 weeks, Savannah said quietly. I was waiting for the right time to tell you. So, here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to cancel that press conference. You're going to check yourself into rehab. And when you get out, if you've cooperated with the investigation, there might be a future for your child that doesn't involve visiting their father in prison. More silence. Then, how do I know you'll keep your word? Because unlike you, I actually care about this family's legacy. The line went dead. 5 minutes later, Savannah's phone buzzed. "He's cancelling the press conference," she said, relief evident in her voice. Dad stood up shakily. "What happens now?" "Now?" I looked around the room. "Now I clean up your mess. But first," I turned to Sarah. "Call security, clear out Emiliano's office and Dad's too." "Ruby," Dad started. "Go home," I said firmly. "Both of you, spend time with Mom. Let me handle this." As they left, Hayden approached me. "What about me?" "That depends. Are you ready to actually work for a living?" He nodded. "I want to make this right." "Good, because I need someone who knows operations and you're the only one I still trust." My phone buzzed one last time. "Valerie. Press release is ready. Want to announce the merger?" I looked around the boardroom at the family portraits on the walls, at the legacy I'd just inherited. "Send it," I texted back, then to Hayden. "Ready to build something real this time?" He smiled slightly. "Lead the way, little sister." Later that evening, I sat in what used to be Emiliano's office, my office now, watching the sun set over the city. My phone lit up with a message from Mom. "I'm proud of you." I should have said that years ago. I stared at those words for a long time, feeling the weight of everything that had changed. The company was mine now, but at what cost? And could anything ever be the same again? Valerie appeared in the doorway. "Coming. The team's waiting to celebrate." I stood up, taking one last look at the family photo on the wall. "Yeah," I said. "Let's go build something worth celebrating." 3 months after the takeover, I stood in front of the merged company's board, presenting our first quarterly results. The room was different now, younger, more diverse, with Valerie and Hayden flanking me instead of my father's old guard. "Ruby Secure's integration with Graham Tech has exceeded projections." I clicked through the slides. "Revenue is up 60% from last quarter. Client retention has stabilized at 95%. "And the government contracts?" one board member asked. "Fully compliant now," Hayden answered. "We've passed every security audit with flying colours." My phone buzzed. Savannah. "M's completing his programme. Doctors say he's doing well." "What about the SEC investigation?" another board member pressed. "Resolved," I replied. "Full cooperation and transparency earned us minimal fines. The criminal charges are confined to the previous management." The meeting continued smoothly until Sarah, who'd stayed on as advisor, raised her hand. "There's one more item. Your father's requesting a meeting." The room went quiet. I kept my voice steady. "For what purpose?" "He says he has information about additional offshore accounts we haven't found yet." My phone lit up again. Mom this time. "Please talk to your father. He's trying." "Schedule it," I told Sarah. "But in the office, not at home." After the board dispersed, Valerie lingered. "You sure about meeting him?" "No choice. We need to find every skeleton before they find us." The next morning, Dad sat across from me in my office, looking smaller than I remembered. "The decorations are different," he noted, glancing around. "The company's different," I replied. "The accounts." He pulled out a notebook. "There are 3 more. Cayman Islands, Switzerland, and—" "Why now?" I interrupted. "Why tell me this after 3 months?" He set the notebook down. "Because I'm dying, Ruby." The words hit like a physical blow. "What?" "Cancer. Stage 4. Maybe 6 months left." My phone buzzed. "Hayden, Dad told you?" "How long have you known?" I asked Dad. "Found out last week. Your mother's taking it hard." I stood up, walking to the window. "The accounts?" "Ruby, the accounts, Dad. That's why you're here." He sighed, opening the notebook again. For the next hour, we worked through the details, my team documenting everything. When we finished, he lingered by the door. "The company's thriving under you," he said quietly. "I was wrong. About everything." "Yes, you were." "Your mother wants you to come to dinner. Sunday." My phone lit up, Valerie. "Major Tech Conference wants you as keynote speaker. Theme: Women Revolutionizing Security." "I'll think about it," I told Dad. After he left, Hayden came in. "You okay?" "Are you?" You knew about Dad? Found out yesterday, Mom called. I sank into my chair. 6 months. Yeah. Hayden sat across from me. What do you want to do? About the company? Nothing changes. We keep building. About Dad. My phone buzzed again. Emiliano this time. Heard about Dad. Can we talk? I showed Hayden the message. He nodded slowly. Maybe it's time. For what? To decide what kind of legacy we really want to leave. Later that day, I called a meeting with Valerie, Hayden, and Sarah. I need your honest opinions, I said. Can we bring Emiliano back? Not as an executive, but maybe in sales or... No, Valerie said immediately. Hear me out, I continued. Dad's dying. The company's stable. Maybe it's time to... To what? Sarah interrupted. Return to the old ways? Ruby, you've built something remarkable here. Don't risk it out of guilt. My phone lit up. A message from the rehab facility. Mr. Emiliano has shown exceptional progress. Family support would be beneficial at this stage. Hayden read the message over my shoulder. What if we start small? Let him prove himself. Under strict supervision, Valerie added reluctantly, and with no access to finances. I looked around at my team, my real family for the past year. Vote on it. They nodded. One by one, they wrote their votes on paper. When I counted them, the result was unanimous. Conditional second chance. I texted Emiliano, Sunday dinner at Mom's. We'll talk then. His response was immediate. Thank you, little sister. Looking out over the city skyline, I thought about legacy, not just the companies, but our families. Maybe there was still time to build something worth leaving behind. My phone buzzed one final time. Mom. Family dinner on Sunday. All of you. No business talk, just family. For the first time in months, I smiled at a family message. I'll be there, I texted back. Sometimes the hardest part of winning isn't the victory itself. It's deciding what to do with it. Sunday dinner felt surreal. Mom had set the table with the good china. Like nothing had changed, but everything had. Emiliano sat across from me, sober and subdued, while Savannah's small baby bump showed under her dress. Hayden kept glancing between us nervously, as if expecting an explosion. The pot roast is excellent, Valerie said, breaking the silence. I'd insisted on bringing her. I needed at least one ally here. Thank you, dear, Mom smiled. Ruby's grandmother's recipe. Dad cleared his throat. I understand the company won Innovation of the Year. We did, I nodded. Hayden's team deserves most of the credit. Our team, Hayden corrected. Ruby's leadership made it possible. Emiliano set down his fork. I saw the presentation online, the AI security protocol. It's brilliant. It's what I tried to tell you 3 years ago, I couldn't help saying. I know. He met my eyes. I should have listened. My phone buzzed. Sarah. Major acquisition opportunity just came up. Need your decision by morning. I ignored it. This dinner was more important. I've been thinking, Emiliano continued, about what you said about legacy. Savannah warned softly. No, let me finish. He took a deep breath. I spent years trying to be what Dad wanted, the strong son, the leader. I never stopped to think about what was best for the company, for our family. Dad started to speak, but Mom touched his arm, silencing him. Ruby, Emiliano said, you were right. About everything. And I'm sorry. The words hung in the air. My phone buzzed again. Valerie had texted under the table. You okay? I set my napkin down. Sorry isn't enough. I know. But, I continued, actions might be. Everyone looked at me. I pulled out a folder I'd brought, sliding it across the table to Emiliano. What's this? He asked. A job offer, entry level, sales department. You'll report to Hayden. Ruby, Dad protested, but stopped when Mom squeezed his hand. Why? Emiliano asked. Because you're good with people when you're not trying to prove something, because your child deserves to know their father, and because... I glanced at Dad. Life's too short for permanent exile. Savannah started crying softly. Hayden reached over and grabbed her hand. There are conditions, I continued. Regular drug tests, No access to company finances. One mistake and you're out. Emiliano nodded slowly. When do I start? Monday, if you're ready. I am. He looked around the table. I really am. My phone lit up again, this time with a photo from Sarah. The company's name on the NASDAQ board, our stock price hitting a new high. Look, I showed everyone the photo. This is us now, all of us. If we want it to be. Dad stood up suddenly, wobbling slightly. Mom rushed to steady him. I need to say something, he announced. Ruby. When I built this company, I thought I knew what strength looked like. I was wrong. You're stronger than I ever was. Dad, let me finish. I'm proud of you. Not just of what you built, but of who you are, even when that means standing against me. Mom was crying now too. I felt Valerie squeeze my hand under the table. The company's in better hands now, Dad continued. All I ask is, let me help while I can. Even just to share stories about your grandfather, about how it all started. I stood up, walking around the table to him. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then I hugged him, feeling his frailty, knowing our time was limited. Sunday dinners, I said. Every week, no business talk, just family. Just family, he agreed. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Sarah that made me smile. I showed it to everyone. Forbes just named you one of the 40 under 40. Headline reads, Ruby Graham, redefining family business for the digital age. To Ruby? Hayden raised his glass. Everyone followed suit. No, I said, to family, the one we choose to be. Later that night, as Valerie and I left, she asked, was it worth it? All of it? I looked back at the house, at my family visible through the window, broken but healing, changed but together. Ask me again in 6 months, I said. But right now, yeah, it was worth it. What's next? I smiled, thinking of the acquisition opportunity waiting in my inbox, of Emiliano's first day tomorrow, of Dad's stories still untold. Next, we build something that lasts, something worthy of the name they never thought I could carry. Together, she asked. Together, I agreed, all of us.